Even though unemployment is staying relatively low, in certain sectors of the economy, layoffs are surging and companies are not giving their employees much notice. So it's important we all keep up on what sectors are laying off people. And so in today's video, I want to share with you which industries are most at risk. Okay, we're going to jump into this article by Forbes. It's called Big Layoffs Are Hitting These Sectors the Hardest. And they talk about layoffs have surged across an array of industries. Fortunately, it's not all industries, but if you're impacted by this, you need to know about it. Okay, the article starts off with more than 221,812 jobs eliminated in just the first month of the year. Workers and companies alike are forced to confront an ever changing and challenging environment. Layoffs in 2025 are reshaping the workforce. Government, tech, retail, accounting, manufacturing, and logistics have been hit hard. I'm going to get to what the top industry is, but first I want to talk about the number two industry to be hit. Probably doesn't surprise you. It's retail. The retail sector, second hardest hit, according to Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. And it's driven in part by some bankruptcies of some big chains, bankruptcy of Joann Fabrics, where people lost 19,000 jobs, Party City, 16,000 jobs lost, and Big Lots, $1,000. 1,000 jobs accounted for significant losses. Now, before I get into the number one, I do want to encourage you, if you don't know, I do have a free newsletter that I put out every week, every other week. If you like my videos, you'll love my free newsletter. You can sign up here. Okay. Another industry, and this one's surprising, and that is management consulting. Those are typically, very high paying jobs. The automobile industry and UPS. So these are gem jobs that unfortunately people are losing. Let's start off with management consulting. The big four management consultancies firm PwC laid off 1,500 U.S. Workers, which is 2% of its workforce, followed by 1,800 cuts in 2024. Uh, and then automobile industry companies like Volvo, 125 layoffs at its Charleston plant. General Motors, almost 1,700 layoffs at its Fairfax assembly plant. And Mercedes-Benz has announced mass layoffs. In UPS, another employer that, it seems like just yesterday, the truck drivers, the delivery drivers had gotten a really nice pay increase, but now UPS says it's planning on cutting 20,000 jobs in 2025. They're citing global trade policy and changes in tariffs that are discouraging shipping. Okay, so what's the number one industry? Before we go into this, if you do lose your job, if you're worried about losing your job, it just shows how important it is for all of us to plan. The software I like used to be called New Retirement. It's now called Bolden. You can sign up for it here. It's very affordable. It's about $120 a year. Very robust software, much better than putting together your financial plan, your budgeting plan, or your retirement plan in Google or Excel sheets. I am an affiliate, so a small piece of what you pay for the service, which is only about $120 a year, very affordable. Small piece of that does go to support the channels. So the number one industry, what is the number one industry for losses? You're going to be surprised because during COVID, it was one of the secure places, but unfortunately, it's the tech companies. The tech sector has the dubious honor of leading layoffs per TechCrunch. Now, I'm going to talk about what to do if you're worried about your job being eliminated, so stick with us. But let's finish with this. Companies like CrowdStrike, 500 layoffs, Meta, Microsoft, and Block are downsizing. So these gem jobs that have survived really the great financial crisis, they were relatively unscathed. And then going into COVID, we're unscathed as well, but they are being hit hard now. These are big paying jobs. So the article talks about what to do. I'm going to add my own things here as we go as well. But what should workers know about layoffs? First, it's important to monitor your sector to know whether you're at risk. Videos like this are going to help. industry journalists are going to be able to help with this as well. So you want to monitor your sector, your industry that you're working in for signs of instability. In tech, they say generic skills won't cut it. Cut it. Identify niche skills your employer or competitors lack. This includes AI tools. Now, outside of tech, now if you're going to work in AI and tech, you probably need to have a pretty high level of sophistication. But just like every company, in some regards, is now a software company, right? We all need to know how to use sophisticated software, most of us, for our jobs. I think it's the same thing for AI. I think pretty soon all companies will be AI companies to some extent and will be using it to do things better, faster, and cheaper than what we've ever been able to do. Um, so if you don't have basic AI skills, I really encourage you to do it because I think the next 24 months, there's going to be a rapid transition, just like there was personal computers in the 1980s, just like there was with the internet in the mid to late 1990s. I think this is going to be the same thing. So the sooner we climb that curve, that learning curve, to at least be a good consumer of AI tools and to learn to do more with less, the sooner we climb that learning curve, the better off, the more secure we'll be. Okay. The article wisely goes on to point out that layoffs often come with little warning. Severance packages may be minimal or not offered. And because of that, it's super important to have an emergency fund at least 3 to 6 months 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. The older you are, unfortunately, I think that, and if you're planning on trying to stay working as opposed to if you lost your job, you would retire a couple years early. If you're in your late 40s, your early 50s, or late 50s, and you want to return to the workforce, unfortunately, I think we need to have more than 3 to 6 months of living expenses, maybe as much of as up to a year, so that we can take time to get reskilled and to find the job that's best for us. I don't want you taking the first job that comes along. I want you to take the job that's the best match for you. And the article goes on to say the last one is layoffs can feel personal, especially when companies like Meta label affected workers as low performers. Mea culpa, I was laid off once in my career, and it was hard. It was mentally very challenging. So it's one thing to say, hey, don't let it impact you. But the reality is, you know, uh, b- being providers for our family is an important thing. So it's gonna, even if you say, "Hey, I'm not gonna let it impact me." Boy, if you're involved in it, first off, my condolences, and second, really think about, how can you make this a pivot for the best? In my case, when I was laid off, and people tell you this, I look back now and say, that was a good thing. I used to do private equity. I knew my heart was in retirement planning, was in wealth management. I didn't like all the travel and private equity, but I may never have left if I hadn't been laid off. So getting laid off can be a good thing. If you are going through it, again, my condolences. And if this video was helpful, the YouTube algorithm says this is the next video of mine specifically for you that you should watch next. Thanks for watching this one. Bye bye.